Grand Rising family, friends. This is the King's Table Podcast. I'm your host, KCDG, King Chaos in the building.
Yo.
And we're getting back into our United States history today. You know how it goes. So without further ado, all right. Grand Rising Kings and Queens, Grand Rising. So we're going to get back into these United States history. I got this book I'm going to pull up. I think I read the first chapter. Was that yesterday? I read the first chapter of it. Not even the first chapter. It was like the first couple paragraphs or so.
This is what you was reading on my this was on my channel.
This was on your channel?
Yeah, you read the first couple paragraphs on my channel.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'll read it on my channel. No, fuck that. It was only this page. So for the people who didn't read it, you can screenshot it or do whatever you need to do. I'm not gonna read it over. But this is basically the description of what they saw when they first arrived to the new world known as, Americas. And I'll read this sentence: the origin of the Indians involved in the origin of the Indians is involved in great obscurity. At what date or by what route they came to the new world is unknown. So keep that in mind. I'm pretty sure I read this one yesterday too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read this one about the five nations of New York. And then south of the country, so the Algonquins, Cherokees. Okay. So we'll start from 7. South of the country of the Algonquins were the Cherokees and the Mobilian nations. What that remind you of? Chaos.
My bad, I was on mute. But yeah, Mobile, Alabama. That's all I could think of. You know what I'm saying? That's first thing hit my brain. As soon as you heard me, you said Mobilians, Mobile, Alabama. I sound like something they would call themselves. I used to live 30 minutes from Mobile, so you know what I'm saying? That sounds like something they would call themselves.
Yes, sir. The former occupying Tennessee and the latter the domain between the lower Mississippi and the Atlantic. The Cherokees were highly civilized for a primitive people, and contact with the whites seemed to improve rather than degrade. Was that it? Hold on, let me go back.
Hey, whoa, hey. For them to make the distinction that, hey, for them to mix with the white civilization and it not deteriorate them shows that was the complete expectation from jump when they made contact to deteriorate their societies once they made contact.
Right. Let's look at this map. know if you find anything interesting. I think the whole map is interesting, but
Hold on, man. I
word.
gotta make my screen a little bigger. Hold on, hold on. See the Navajo space, the Apache space, the Comanche space,
Yuma, Yumas,
the Ottos, the up to your right.
Colorado,
Where, but this is not.
Colorado River,
Where the rest of the map at? Where the other side?
got the Omahas,
The Crows.
Trees, Boys, Nez Perces, the Great Salt Lake.
Where the Cherokees at? They got. We gotta go further east to.
The Creeks,
Mobilians.
Choctaws, Chickasaws, Chickasaws, whatever. That's crazy. There's so many of them. Cherokees right here. That's what Tennessee is. Seminoles. You got the Mobilians, the Algonquins. So this is basically putting imagery to the layout.
Right. So it's not like they were few and far between. They maintained the entire territory.
Hmm. The Mohegans,
Where Blackfoot at? I don't see Blackfoot on here.
the Lake of the Woods. Interesting. Look, Miami's.
What? That's crazy. That's Michigan, ain't it?
Yeah. Hold up. I was at the 45-degree mark. Mhm.
Yeah. Remember we were talking about the northern tribe was up at the 60-degree mark. So that's 15 degrees north. So that means the third group will be 15 degrees south of this group, which would make them Mexicans or the Mayans and the Inuits.
Right. So, back to what we were reading. Instead of degrade them, the principal tribes of the Mobilians were, my bad, Yamasees and the Creeks of Georgia, the Seminoles of Florida, and the Choctaws and Chickasaws of Mississippi. This displayed the usual disposition of habits of the red men. West of Mississippi was the great family of the Dakotas, whose territory expanded from Arkansas River to the country of the Equinox and westward of the Rocky Mountains. My bad. Their languages, institutions, differing much among the various tribes, are not so well understood as those of some other nations. Some of the Dakotas in the district nearly corresponding with the state of Texas live the wild Comanches, whose very name is a synonym for savage ferocity. Mm. So the Comanches, those were the ones that rode horseback, right?
Yeah, the Comanches were that southwestern group that they had to go. The settlers had to go through in order to get to the west, and so those are the ones they had to settle. They were fighting against the uh, the fighting for the land rights and the cattle land, and that's the first. I believe that's the first group of people that made the comment and they're dividing the great lands into pastures and destroying our hunting grounds. Those are the first people that the first group of the natives that
bringing that to
were
the
affected by that
right.
majorly.
Okay. Beyond the Rocky Mountains were the Indian nations of the plains, the widely spread families of the Shoshanes, the Salish, the Klamath, and the Californians. On the Pacific slope, further southward dwelt the former times, the famous races Aztecs and Toltecs, the most civilized and least warlike of primitive Indian nations. The territorial position of the various aboriginal families and tribes will be easily understood from the examination of the accompanying map, which it was.
That's kind of crazy.
Also,
How do you? Is it just a happenstance that the most civilized was the least warlike, or was it the fact that they were so civilized that he wasn't properly perceiving their ability to be warlike? Because if I'm more civilized, I have more capability of destruction than I do in a privileged state.
do you think they foreseen the benefits?
I'm saying, even before the white man come around, I could see where that the wisdom of them being more open and welcoming to a foreigner, just to give them the opportunity to prove themselves worthy. Because the primitive is not going to give you the opportunity, but it just seems naive to me, or kind of foolish, that he would assume that they were the least warlike because they were the most civilized. Of course, you seem less violent when you are more welcoming. Like this just goes hand in hand. But that
Wow.
doesn't mean that they're less capable. It
Right.
just means that this moment I haven't offended you to where you can show me all the cool shit you can do to kill me.
Okay. The Indians were strongly marked with national peculiarities. The most striking characteristic of the race was a certain sense of personal independence, willfulness of action, freedom from restraint. Next among the propensities of the Redmen was the passion for war, a passion almost universal. Their wars, however, were always undertaken for for the redress of grievances, real or imaginary, and not for conquest. Hmm. But the Indian,
So
but
so
with,
he's
go ahead.
so he's saying essentially that from what I'm interpreting, that when they were going to war, it was strictly off principle. You offended me, and you gonna pay for it. It wasn't a let me grow my territory. It was more of a it was to revenge or a retaliation or an attack on a specific principle. It wasn't a desire to expand an empire.
Right. But with the Indian, a redress of grievances meant a bloody personal vengeance on the offender. Revenge was the prime motive in every Indian conflict. To forgive an injury was considered a shame. The red men's strategy in war consisted of craft, treachery, and cunning. The open battlefield was unknown among them. Fighting was limited to the ambuscade and the massacre. Quarter was rarely asked and never given. Granted, I meant, my bad. Hmm.
Rarely asked and never given.
Hmm.
So this seems like a very familiar philosophy to me. Seems like one that we still carry on today.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why we are deemed to be uncivilized, because we are using an ancient form of conflict resolution that was deemed uncivilized.
To forgive an injury was considered a shame.
Shame. How you feel about that statement?
I completely agree. Even today.
But see how do we expect to lessen our numbers in the graveyard if we are unable to live a life of forgiveness?
I mean, I feel like it's intention, bro.
So the same thing with what we were discussing a little bit yesterday, or what I was trying to catch up on. Basically saying, there was an individual that spoke out and said that as long as the individual is outright intention is malice, then they shall be punished to the most extreme degree.
Right.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna read number 10. And then I don't know. I'm kind of scared to even open up the panel today. On God.
Yeah, that yesterday was a little extra wild, but you know what? No, that's not shouldn't deter us from reaching out, man.
All right. So number 10. In times of peace, the Indian character appeared to be a better advantage. Appeared to a better advantage. My bad. But the red man was always unsocial and solitary. Hmm. He was a man of the woods. He sat apart communicating with himself in solitude. He thought the forest better than his wigwam. What is a wigwam? I
The
don't know.
wigwam, the wigwam is the housing, like the tent, the TP, the whatever that little temporary housing is they're setting up.
Right. Nice to know. And his wigwam better than the village. The Indian woman was a degraded creature, a mere drudge and beast of burden. Damn. The social principle was at a low ebb among the Indians' family and domestic ties are most unrecognized. Now you know what that just birthed?
Huh.
Super saver hoes.
Oh no. Wait.
Nah, that's fucked up. But hey, that's what I see what just happened right now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, so what you're saying. So basically you're saying that the author of this writing, it notices the where they can take advantage of this societal structure because of how he feels the women are held in this ecosystem.
Right.
Hmm. That's very capey. That's what we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it very capey. Can't say
Okay.
we're gonna call them capies. But same thing. Um, you get help from me, but you can't have your man in the crib.
That part.
But anyway, that's
It's an interesting depiction.
you can't make it. You can't make it no. Zoom in a little bit for me. What? So they counted the guns. Well, that looks like an intelligence report right there. If I ever seen one,
Right.
that looks like an intelligence report of how the white man came into the camp, how many birds they ate.
You got the Turtle Island.
They got the fires on the corner. Well, the one above that is not in the corner. 17, 13. So that might, and then this say 9 above this group, but each of these down here is numbered. Boy, so that means listen, all of them ended up dead. Oh, okay, there you go. 8 soldiers with muskets, commanded by a captain and accompanied by a secretary, a geologist, 3 attendants, and 2 Indian guides encamped here. They had 3 campfires and ate a turtle and a prairie hen for supper. Boy, that's a scouting report, boy, if I ever seen one.
Specimen of Indian writing.
Listen, all of them, if when he got back in, whoever he reported to was like, all right, wipe him out. Boy, that was an easy kill. That was an easy kill. All set right there. Nah, I'm like they already knew what time it was. So okay, we got this many people. All we need really is like 15 killers. Because most of these attendants, the secretary and the geologist, they out of here. They running. Yeah, they can't shoot. They running. We ain't gotta worry about our brothers because they probably just gonna get out the way. They ain't gonna help the white folk. They gonna move. They gonna hear that coop, they gonna hear the sound, and they gonna slide. So we ain't worried about them. We worried about these 9 plus the captain.
All right.
And I tell you, they ate good, or they ain't eat too good. They ain't really eat too good.
You ever had turtle?
No, but my uncle is a freaking Chef Boyardee Wild Man edition on them things. But I ain't tried it.
Oh God, my grandpa used to cook turtle. He probably still do.
I know my uncle still do. No hesitation. I know I walked in the backyard a couple months before I left Florida, and I know one of them hoes' head was nailed to the tree.
God damn.
But I ain't even ask no questions. You know, he had to tell me later because I see. I'm from Parker, Florida, but I see stuff like that. I just keep going. I'm not even gonna talk to you about it.
Look at that shit. Yep, that's happening.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go about my business. You holler about this later. I'm right with you. I'm gonna let you finish what you doing.
You can bring it up if you want to.
Yeah, you ain't got to worry about me. I'm trying to
I
tell
ain't
you.
seen 9.
Trying to tell you. He laughed at me for like a week. Well, I'm from a pocket. That they ain't none of that. You see something questionable, you keep them questions to yourself.
You can't look at a bitch the wrong way.
Now I'm not gonna be next. I don't know what you, but like you said, you can be Captain Sarah.
I'm saying this came over here seeing how Indians was treating their women. They were like, you know what, we could probably get these women. Thus, they'll go Pocahontas.
Look, and they fine too. You don't see that skin tone? They fine too.
They the Pocahontas was the first bitch to be saved.
You know what I'm saying? You know, John Smith was probably late. They probably put John in on game. They would put listen. Go over there, be real nice, you know what I'm saying? Gift the chief, and he gonna give you a bad one. He gonna
John Smith
give
was
you
a
a bad
Jewish man. John Smith was a Jewish man with a white name, just like Christopher Columbus. But that's a different discussion.
Ooh. Whole nother episode. Don't do that. Don't do that.
That's a whole nother discussion. And I'm just throwing that out there. There's no proof to back that up about John Smith, but I have a feeling. I'll say that. So
hey man,
I'm gonna go with that feeling. I'm gonna go looking, and we gonna find out together. Matter of fact, I'm with you, bro.
I'm gonna say this, and hope it don't ruffle no feathers. But the tribe of Ashkenazi has been blessed because they followed the instructions from the word. You know what I'm saying? So when he said be fruitful and multiply, they made sure they spread. They see it all over the place. We ain't no telling how much of them is spread throughout all the genealogies of the world.
Right.
Insane.
Like, I got none of this nigga family members documented. Wow.
Hmm.
We don't have no like family history. Went to St. Helena Straits. We got a statue in Jamestown, Junior Colony, Prince of Transylvania, his friend Moses Zageli. What? And this was what, between 1580 and 1630. Look at that. So I gotta look up those time period, 1580. The fuck would they be coming over here in 1580 for?
That's what I'm saying. What year did Columbus supposedly sail?
Well, it was claimed and established. I don't know. I think it was what, 1610, wasn't it? Or I don't know. Good question. Let me
That's what I'm.
Google it.
That's crazy. Hmm.
1492. He said. Wait, hold up, hold
He
up.
said sail.
He set sail from Spain in three ships: the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria on August 3rd, 1492. Italian explorer Christopher Columbus started his voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. Okay,
So that's enough time for that news to get back of how what's going on and get out there.
what you mean?
That's
This
plenty of time.
nigga is this nigga John wasn't even born until 1580. How the fuck? And Christopher Columbus set sail in 1492. They didn't even come together.
Yeah, they weren't even nowhere near each other. What I'm saying is, John Smith was supposed to be where the Pocahontas story happened way after Columbus got here and left.
Okay, so you were being correct. So that story had to take place after some time in the land already.
But it had to be between somewhere between if he was born in 1580. Let's say he let's say he started his sailing career at 14. He this had to go down before 1619 because Pocahontas' story was supposed to be pre-slavery. The first slave ship dropped 1619. That means the John Smith Pocahontas thing had to happen between 1580 and 1619. So how is he a 40-year-old man courting a 14-year-old princess if that's the case?
Wouldn't that explain a lot about their culture?
No, no, no. What I'm saying is he was not 40 years old.
Nah, but yet, regardless, she was 14.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But shit, even in Europe, that was not uncommon for the teenage girl to be, wedded away, right?
I guess.
It wasn't odd for any culture worldwide in that time period whatsoever. Actually,
I guess different times.
I'm just saying, if we really look at it, how many princesses were wedded off to kings before they were 18 years old?
Quite a lot, but different
We can
times.
even say
Different,
some in Solomon's castle were victims of that, to use a harsh word.
like I said, different times, different crimes. You feel me? I can't
Oh
say
yeah.
nothing
By the
else.
way, disclaimer: I'm not condoning nothing of
Hey,
the
back
sort
then, if
whatsoever.
somebody approached my property, they ain't even have to be on my property, and I could take their head off, and it'll be perfectly fine. You feel me?
Especially if they weren't found.
Exactly. So, like I said, different times, different crimes.
Yeah. What we gonna do now?
See, now they still doing that and invading homes, but now they got said laws to protect you from taking their head off
Boy,
or protect them from taking their head off.
yeah, freaking freak out.
I ain't gonna need you to protect me.
I think I'm gonna do an episode for my dogs, man. Go ahead. Let's keep rocking a little bit. No, we ain't done with this.
Yeah. So you could go ahead. I was preparing a little something. Hold up. Let me get that pull zoomed in for you. Go ahead and take off, my boy.
Number 11. Government hardly existed among the Native American nations. Each tribe had its own sachem or chieftain, to whom, in matters of peace and war, a certain degree of obedience was rendered. Sometimes confederations were formed based on the ties of kinship or necessities of war, but these confederations seldom lasted long and were likely at any time to be broken up by the various tribes who composed them. Sometimes the chief, and sometimes the chieftain would arise with such marked abilities of leadership as to gain an influence over several nations. But with the death of the chief, each tribe would regain its independence and return to its own ways. No general Indian Congress was known, but councils were frequently called to debate questions of policy and right. Number 12. In the matter of the arts, the Indian was a barbarian. His house was a wigwam or a hovel built of poles set up in a circle and covered with skins and the branches of trees. The door was a simple opening opposite the point from which the wind blew, and the floor and the walls were covered with mats, and a fire was kindled on the ground in the center. Household utensils were few and crude. Earthen pots, bags, and pouches for carrying provisions, and stone hampers for pounding corn were the stock in the store. The Indians' weapons were of offense and defense were the hatchet and the bow and arrow. In times of war, he painted his face and his body with all manner of glaring and fantastic colors. The elegant arts were wholly wanting. Indian writing consists of half legible hieroglyphics scratched on the face of rocks or cut into the bark of trees. 13. The Indian language bears little resemblance to those of other races, but have great similarities among themselves. The vocabulary sit sit. Hmm. The vocabulary of the red man was very limited one. The principal objects of nature and common actions and emotions had special names, but abstract ideas were expressed with great difficulty and almost endless circumlocution.
Circumlocution.
Indian words had a narrow but very intense meaning. There was, for instance, no word significing to hunt or to fish, but one word means to kill a deer with an arrow, and another was to take a fish by striking the ice. Among some of the tribes, the meaning of the words were so restricted that the warrior would use one term, and the squaw and the squan another to express the same idea. The Indians were generally sedate in manners and serious in behavior. Sometimes, however, they gave themselves up in merrymaking and hilarity. The dance was universal, not the social dance of the civilized nations, but the dance of ceremony, of religion, and of war. Various amusements were common, such as running, leaping, wrestling, shooting at a mark, racing in canoes along swift rivers or placid lakes, playing at ball, or engaging in intricate and exciting games. The use of tobacco was universal and excessive, and after the introduction of after the introduction, bring it up a little bit.
Intoxicating liquors by the Europeans, the Indians fell into terrible drunkenness. They came with that oil, got them drunk. That's the North American Indian from the depiction. I still see a black man. Or a today's modernized black man in a way, so to speak. The red man. Okay. Last page of the day. Straight and agile, lean and swift of foot. The eyes are jet black and sunken. The hair black and straight, beard black and skin copper colored or brown. Cheekbones high, forehead and skull variable in shape and proportion. Hands and feet small, body lift but not strong. Expression sinister or rarely dignified and noble. Mm. For centuries, the Indian race has been declining. Only hope perpet- for its perpetuity seems now to center in the Choctaws and Cherokees, Creeks, and Chickasaws of Indian Territory. These nations, numbering in the aggregate about 48,000 souls, have attained a considerable degree of civilization. Most of the other tribes seem to be rapidly approaching extinction. How whether the red man has been justly deprived of the ownership of the New World will remain a subject of debate. Wow, that he has been deprived can be none. Damn. The white races have taken possession of the vast domain. The weaker people has withered from the presence of the stronger. By the majestic rivers and in the depths of the solitary woods, the feeble sons of the bow and arrow will be seen no more. To the prairies and forests, the hunting grounds of the fathers and the red men. Red man says farewell. So pretty intense right there. All right, so what will we be discussing later? Voyage and discovery. Uh, what is that? From years. Wow, 986 to 1607. The Icelanders and the Norwegians in America. That should be interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that should be very interesting. But yeah, creep on that 45-minute mark. It's about to hit 40 minutes here shortly. I just want you guys to come in and I want to finish that up on over here because it really piqued my interest. in the chaotic portal. If you want to catch the first few paragraphs what we read over there, be sure to hit the link in the bio. Check out that video. Give it a thumbs up. Like, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to King Chaos for coming on today. And as always, keep a great
Blessings,
day.
people.
Peace and blessings.